Hello, hello, hello. It's your sister, Reverend Jocelyn here, and welcome to the Sister Start Your Ministry Hour. I am your coach for the day, and this hour is committed to helping you with the skills, with the strategy, and the spiritual faith based foundation to help you to not only start your ministry, but to grow it and make it sustainable. And this show is recorded live because I love connecting with you. I want to be able to hear from you. I want to be able to answer your questions and just engage with those sisters who know you are called to build a transformative ministry. So, one of the things I'm going to ask you to do if you're watching this live is let me know who's here. Put your name in the chat, comment with me because I feed off of your energy. So, be sure to put your notes in the comments. Now, I want you to think about Sister Start Your Ministry Hour almost like a big book club meeting with sisters from across the country. We're meeting together and we're going to be covering topics from my book, Sister Start Your Ministry. So if you haven't gotten your copy of this book yet, you can go to sisterstartyourministry.com, and you definitely at least want to be able to have this book with you when I'm covering the materials. But also, we have my workbook and we have some other supplemental items like my planner, my journal. But at a minimum, you want to get the book because week after week, I'm going to be covering materials from this to help you to start and grow your ministry. Now, as a recap for those who missed last week's live, obviously you can go back and watch the replay. But we were just reminding you that, sister, you are definitely, definitely called. Now, we are all called to do work and to serve in ministry. It's just how that calling is expressed. When we look at scripture, Matthew 22:37 through 39, Jesus replied, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is equally important: love your neighbor as yourself." And when we think about loving your neighbor as yourself, first we need to love ourselves. But secondly, loving our neighbor. That love is expressed oftentimes through service, and that is ministry. Ministry is service to God and to others on Christ's behalf. That's how I define it. And how you serve can be done in different ways. Ministry is not just confined to the walls of the church. This is big. Yes, we can do ministry in the church, but you might be called to do ministry in the boardroom, in the Zoom room, in the community, in the nonprofit sector. Whatever your calling is, though, it's needed. Now, one of the concepts that I like to teach is when you're really searching for what your calling looks like, I want you to think about your gifts. When you have your gifts, and you see a need in the world, maybe it's a need to support trauma survivors or those who've gone through divorce or those who have experienced some type of abuse. Okay, so you have your gifts, maybe speaking, writing, leading, conducting workshops, retreats, plus a need, whatever that issue is, whatever that problem you see in the world. When you have that and you have a passion around that, that equals purpose driven work. And that, sister, is what you want to hone in on to developing your ministry. All right. So we are at this place in our journey where hopefully you have some things in mind as it relates to what you would like to do for your ministry. If you do, once again, put in a chat for me who you are. And if you have an idea of what you want to focus on for your ministry, is it domestic violence? Is it supporting widows? Is it supporting those who've gone through divorce? Is it foster care? Is it supporting the homeless? Let me know what God has put on your heart that is in alignment with your gifts, your passions to meet a need for that purpose driven work. And for some of you, you might want to do something like coach. You might want to speak on stage. You might want to be an author. That too can be an expression of your ministry. So, whatever that is, let me know what you're looking to do in the comments. Now, the topic for today, we are really focusing on understanding our why, understanding why we are doing what we're doing and why this is so fundamental when it comes to not only starting your ministry, but staying in the game. Because I'm telling you, getting started, how many of us know we could get started because we're excited? Like, oh, yeah, I'm going to start writing that book, or I'm going to start this nonprofit, or I'm going to sign up for this new program. I'm going to change my life by going to the gym. We could get started for a day or two. But how many of us know staying in the game, running that marathon versus a sprint is easier said than done? Can I get an amen on that? Okay. Well, if you know what I'm talking about, one of the reasons why I say starting understanding your why is vitally important, because it does a couple things for you. First, it's going to keep you going when you feel like quitting. Because when you make a decision to step out and really start this ministry and commit yourself to it, there's going to be a couple things that's going to happen. First and foremost, we do have an enemy. The enemy, Satan, he looks at you as the ultimate target when you get really serious about doing work, being a threat to his plans to steal, kill, and destroy. And so he is going to try to distract you. He's going to try to get you off course. He's going to try to discourage you. So you already have that here. Then we also understand that sometimes life be life, and it's not even dealing with the devil. It's the fact that life is happening to us. And so we might have different challenges at work, different challenges in our marriage. The kids might be acting a fool. We got a lot of stuff going on that we're dealing with. And then the fact that honestly, when it comes to starting your ministry, even if you don't look at it like this, there's a business component to it that must be done. So there's an element of entrepreneurship when you're building your ministry. And sis, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not easy. It's not easy building, whether you are trying to build your reach and build your brand, whether you're trying to raise funds for your cause, whether you're trying to organize people. We got to work with God's people. We called to love God's people, but sometimes we don't be liking God's people because they be difficult. I don't know who I'm talking to, but it's the truth. So when we are dealing with all these things, there are moments where you just like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm handling this, God. I'm discouraged. I'm frustrated. I don't think I'm getting the results. Am I on the right track? All these things can happen when we are at a place where we are building our ministry. And so when we are clear on our why are we doing this in the first place? What was the reason why I even decided to start this nonprofit, to write this book, to build this program? Now, for some of you, you might say, well, I want to help people. Okay, that's a start. But I'm going to challenge you to go even a little deeper, because yes, you want to help people. We're called to help and serve others. But do you want to leave a legacy? Are you writing this book to leave a legacy? Are you starting this program to help the woman that you once were, the little girl that you once were, and you realized, man, there were no programs like this when I was a young adult, or when I was going through this challenge. And so, because I see that need, this is why I want to do this. Or maybe you realize you have such a unique gift, and it would be just such a shame for you to withhold that gift from the world. So, you decide, okay, I know God is calling me to do this. This is my why. So I can change my community. I can break generational curses. What is the why behind your ministry that you can put on your wall? You can put as your screensaver on your phone. You can remind yourself of this when things get hard. And so that again is the first point. Your why, it drives you when you want to quit. All right, again, I see quite a few of you here. Please let me know who's here. I want to engage with you. Put in the comments if you're watching live so I can connect and we can chat. Now, the next point that I want to bring forward to you is the people who follow you in your ministry want to know why you care. Okay? Very important. The people want to know why you care. They want to make sure they recognize that this is not just a thing that you're doing to be cute. Okay. They want to know that you are serious. Now I'm seeing comments. It was on my end. Okay, I see you all. I see you, Kaylin. Okay, through grace by grace. Ebony Heat. Okay, all right. Awesome. Watching from Indianapolis. Good. Okay, I see you all in the house. All right. But people want to know why you're in this. And they want to know that this is not something that's just a fly by night. Because sometimes when we get started on certain projects, we start, we stop. It was kind of just like short lived. But understanding when you launch this ministry that no, this is not just a thing. This is not just a hobby. No, this is a calling. And I want you to put that in the chat. This is not a hobby. This is a calling. And because it's a calling, I take this thing here seriously. And you should, because honestly, I say this time and time again that you answering your call to ministry, Prophetess T, you answering the call to ministry, you are the answer to someone's prayer. You are. Someone is on their knees right now praying for someone who sees them, who can connect to them, who is praying for them, who is real about their stories and about their struggles. But for some of us, and I said it last week, some of us, we playing small. We playing in the minors when we really need to be playing in the majors and stop hiding behind what happened to us in the past, hiding behind our fear. We're going to talk about that a lot next week, but really stepping out into what God is calling us to. So, as we look at the importance of sharing your why, one of the things that people want to know is the story behind why you're starting your ministry. They want to know why you started this program for domestic violence survivors, for foster children, for homeless. They want to understand what compelled you to do this, right? When I think about why I started Women in the Ministry, which is the community that I started to support Christian women who are called to ministry beyond the walls of the church. I started this community because when I first felt called, now mind you, I had worked at my church full time. So I was working in the church setting. I was running a nonprofit. I was executive director, serving that in that capacity. But I felt like God was calling me to start a ministry beyond the walls of the church, to speak on stages, to coach women, to help women to experience healing and breakthroughs. But I did not know how to get started. And if any of you are struggling with that right now, I want you to be honest and put that in the chat, because sometimes getting started is the biggest thing. We know we're called, but wait, how do I write this book? How do I organize this? Like I've worked, in the church most of my life, but stepping out and starting my own, that can be kind of scary. And so for me, that is the reason why I started Women in the Ministry, was to help women such as myself several years ago when I really was kind of trying to struggle to figure out, how do I raise money for my ministry? How do I have a continuous revenue model? How do I create a brand? How do I write a book? That was a thing. Like I really wanted to write a book. How do I publish this thing? Okay, all right, how do I, work with the technology? It's a lot of stress when trying to figure out how to build your ministry. And so for me, that is my founder story. And you have a founder story too. And so I want you to think about, even if you haven't launched yet, what is the reason why that you called to do this work? Was it some type of event that you went through, some type of an experience that just really moved you, whether it was something that you witnessed or something that you went through yourself? Maybe it's someone who's very close to you, who has gone through some things that you were like, man, I really want to help women like this and others who've gone through similar experiences. When you are clear about what you are, the reason why you want to do this, and you are sharing your story, particularly if there was some type of event, it was some type of eureka moment, if you will, that propelled you to start this ministry, you want to document that. And that's considered your founder's story. Okay. Now I see through faith by grace. Thank you for being honest. You said, "Oh my, I feel called in so many directions." Yes, I get that. Sometimes we do feel called in many directions because we're multifaceted. We have many gifts. God gives us so many downloads and ideas. Now some of those are for now, some of those are for later. But for those of you who are also feeling like, man, I feel like I'm kind of all over the place. I have a lot of different things that I can do. One of the things I often say is to help you narrow this down. Do you want to serve a younger version of yourself for something that was not there maybe years ago and you see a need there? That's maybe an indication. Is there some work that you desire to that you enjoy doing? For example, when I do work in the trauma healing space, that's a joy to do that work. When I host trauma healing groups, which is the ministry that I was able to build, I I'm excited every time I get to hold space for someone to help them to heal from trauma. So when there's something that's a joy for you to do and it doesn't feel like work, but you're serving from a place of overflow and love, that can be an indication of where God is leading you in this season. Another thing that I would like to point out to the sister who was kind of struggling with that is I want you to think about the cause that really burdens you. Is there a cause that when you see it on the news, when you hear someone talk about it, you are moved almost to the point of tears? Like someone needs to do something about this. If that is you, maybe that someone is you. Maybe you are the answer to that. So we talk about this, and if you're really struggling on finding out the direction, get my book, Sister Start Your Ministry, because we have certain questions that are going to help you to narrow down your focus. You can go to sisterstartyourministry.com to help you with kind of navigating which direction to go in. Now, Warrior Beauty, I see you said going through a storm after a storm, the Lord revealed to me that He was refining me to get prepared for my purpose. Yes, I love that, Warrior Beauty, because it's true. Sometimes the ministry that God is calling us to is birthed from our pain, and God is preparing you. But you had to go through the test to be the testimony. It's not easy going through the test. But boy, oh boy, once we get through the other side, don't we have a testimony, you know? And so I love that. Thank you for sharing. Now, as you're watching right now, if you know of a sister who is called to ministry, who desires to be a coach, to speak, to start a nonprofit, a healing ministry, do me a quick favor right now and share this link with her so she can join us live. And also, if this is your first time tuning in, you want to be sure to subscribe so that you can not only watch this show live, but I am putting out resources week after week after week to help you to grow your ministry. We talk about both the business side of it. We talk about the spiritual component, the mindset things that we have to go through because things do get tough sometimes. So be sure to subscribe and do me a favor and share this link with a friend and get her on the line so she can also be a part of this conversation. Okay, so let's rehash some of the things that we covered. First, your why drives you when you want to quit. Secondly, we talked about the people who follow you in ministry want to know why you care, and they also want to know your backstory. So, the sister who I just brought up earlier, Miss Warrior, she talked about how she's gone through some storms. Okay, if that storm is leading into the birth of your ministry, that might be a part of your founder story. And it's something that you might be able to use in a book, in articles, in blogs to connect with those who you are called to serve. So I want you to keep that in mind. But after we identify our founder story, another point that I want to make is understanding your why will help to guide your decisions. This is crucial, ladies, because when you are in a place where you are growing your ministry, you're stepping out, you're building, you have decisions to make consistently, like who you're going to partner with, what is your focus, what programs are you going to launch, how are you going to steward your money, meaning how are you going to invest your money, right? And you want to make sure that your why helps you in determining which decisions, which way you're going to go. Because sadly, we've all seen this. There have been people who have grown in their ministry, they become famous, and they forget why they started what they started to begin with. They lose themselves. They get caught up in the hype. They start doing work for God without God, quote unquote, meaning that they're trying to do things in their own strength. They're forgetting about the people who they desire to help, and it's becoming about them. And so you don't want to lose your way. And you want to make sure that your why is helping you to see, okay, I started this ministry with the focus of this particular mission. I'm focused on this. So, yes, that person might have a good idea, or hey, I might have a good idea. Like, because some of us are very creative, we're constantly coming up with good ideas. But the thing is that good idea in alignment with my why, the purpose, the reason for existence as to why God has even called me into this space to begin with. And rest assured, if you are very clear on why you're doing what you're doing, it'll help you to be able to quickly identify the things that you should say no to and the things that you should say yes to. Let me be clear. You are going to have to say no to certain things when you begin to say yes to answering your call to ministry. Because in order for you to be effective, you cannot be all over the places. There's going to be certain things where you're going to have to essentially let go of to make room for what God is trying to do through you in this season. Now, for some of you, you really struggle with this because you might be someone who tends to people please. You tend to overcommit. You feel like you like have this obligation to be everything for everyone else, but no. In this season, you want to focus on where God is leading you. And if God's saying it is time to write this book, it is time to start this program, it is time to launch this nonprofit, it is time for you to start speaking and sharing your testimony. In order for you to do this effectively, you are going to have to be focused and release certain things that you have been honestly, God released you from some time ago. But sometimes we have a hard time letting go. But in order for you to say yes to your next, you're going to have to make room on your plate to go to the next level. And so for you, when you understand why you must do this in this season and have a sense of urgency about that. I actually want you to put this in the chat so I know that you are with me right now. Put like know that it's time now to do this. It's time now to work on my ministry. You cannot wait, sisters, because again, for someone they waited long enough and they need what you have. They need the message that you have inside of you. Okay, so I'm checking you all out. I'm seeing you all here. Warrior Beauty is here. We got through faith by grace. I love that. All right, Kaylee, it's time is now. That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. The time is now for you to step out completely now. Yes. All right. You complete. I love it. I love it. It's time to work on my ministry. Yes. And so when you understand this, when you understand that you can no longer wait, it's been long enough. It also helps you to recognize that when it comes to what you're doing this for the Lord as an act of obedience. And because you are responding to the call to glorify God, to help others, to be of service, it will help you to also understand what success really looks like. Because in society today, society could cause us to really lose sight of what success is. Okay, success in God's eyes is very different than success in our eyes. And we can kind of get lost in that, right? Because there's vanity matrix out there. How many of us have gone on social media and we might see someone and they got 40,000 followers and 3,000 likes and all these things, and we doing our post on Facebook, and we ready, we try so hard, we put our effort into this post, and we got 3 likes, and one of the likes is our mom. No one's sharing our post, and we're frustrated. How many of us have felt that way before, where we're just like, ugh. All right, well, first we have to be careful not to compare. We have to be careful not to compare. All right, because when we're comparing ourselves, God is working on us right now anyway to help us to grow, to help us to learn, to even hone our messaging and our craft. And we might be comparing ourselves to someone's chapter 20 in their book, and we're on chapter 2, but we have no idea how things was looking for them at chapter 2. They too might have only had 3 people following them at the time. So we don't know the cost of their oil. So that's number 1. We just don't want to compare. But regardless, if God is calling you to be more present on social media, to be more engaged with other people and more visible, say, and this is just an example. One of the things that we can find ourselves doing is trying to gauge our success on how many followers or how many likes or how many comments. And that's not how you gauge your success, because for us, if God told us to do it, we are being obedient. The results, that's up to God. Scripture talks about we water, someone else, so we might plant the seed, someone else might water, but it's God who makes things grow. And so the sister in ministry once told me, Taliba Rainberry, she says, you know what? My job is to be obedient to God, and the results is none of my business. And when she said that, she was so serious because she recognized that for us, we need to be obedient, and God is the one who makes things grow. So let me give you an example of what success really looks like when it comes to us doing the work of the Lord and ministry. I remember having a conversation with a sister. Her name is Rachel Washington, and I was actually interviewing her on my show. And she was talking about how she was scrolling through Facebook. And this was like when the pandemic was really new and everybody was watching church online. And so she was watching this one mega church, and the comments were just blowing up. Like people were commenting left and right. And she was like, oh man, like this is like the jump off, for church. And so she saw the comments, lots of hearts, lots of shares, all that stuff. And so after a while, she was like, okay, let me see who else has service now. And so she switched channels or was looking at another Facebook page for a smaller church. And they came to the end of the service, and they didn't have a lot of comments. They might have had like 10, 15 people watching in comparison to the church that had thousands of people watching. But get this, she honed in on one of the comments, and she saw in the comments a sister say, thank you so much for this message. I was on the verge of taking my life, but the message that I heard today saved me. Mm. Oh my God. When you hear a story like that there, sister, that's success to me. That's what it's really about. Saving lives. Because we don't want to get caught up in the likes, the shares. God ain't checking for that. When it comes to what he's calling you to do, the likes and shares, yes, that will come as you're being obedient. But you can't be focused on that, because if you get focused on that initially, because you don't have like people following you, liking, sharing, affirming you, that's one thing that I can see sometimes. People afraid that people will judge them, or they're not getting affirmations from their friends or family or their church. That's something that is real for a lot of us. And for sisters in ministry, sometimes, particularly in patriarchal environments or our denomination, they might not support us being and stepping out into our call. So sometimes, sister, you won't get the affirmation from the people who you're closest to. But you don't need affirmation from them. The only being you need affirmation from is God. The only person, and that's not person, being, the only entity that you are looking for affirmation from is the Lord, to say, job well done, daughter. And when you understand that we are just being obedient, we are a vessel. Right now, I'm just being obedient. I'm being obedient, sharing with you my heart. And it's to glorify God, and it's to inspire you, sister, to answer your call. And I realize for some, you are my assignment to help you to take that next step. But I wonder how many out there are your assignment. but they don't know you yet because you are the best kept secret. I don't know why for some sisters, I mean you are so beautiful. You're smart. You have visions after like there's so much that God wants to do through you. But for some of us, we've been so injured. We've been hurt. We've been told lies about who we are, and somewhere down the road we began to believe those lies. And for that reason, we we're hiding. We're playing small. We're ashamed of sharing our story and what God has brought us through. Sister, I'm telling you, it's time to come out of hiding. It's time for you to step out, to answer the call, to be that answer to someone's prayer, to help someone to experience healing, to experience breakthrough, to know who they are as a daughter or a son, whoever you're called to. But I'm telling you right now, it is time. Now, some of you, I recognize you're like, man, I know it's time, but I don't know what to do. Maybe you're looking for a mentor. Maybe you're looking for resources. Maybe you're looking for a coach. Well, for some of you, I would love to actually connect with you. If you're at a place where you're serious, in the comments, in the show notes, if you will, you can see a link that says revjocelyn.com/breakthrough session. There's a little dash in between breakthrough session. And we can schedule a time to talk for me to learn more about what God is doing through your ministry. Maybe you're just getting started, or maybe you're trying to scale. Maybe you're at a place where you're like, man, I've been working so hard, but I feel like I'm not getting results. Or maybe you're at a place where you're like, I'm ready to leave my 9 to 5 to work on this ministry, to build this kingdom business. I need help with my revenue model. I need help marketing, whatever that is. I invite you to schedule a breakthrough session with me. Now, this breakthrough session is valued at over $300. I'm offering this for a limited amount of time for free to sisters to be able to learn more about what you are seeking and how I can best support you. So definitely at some point, either now or a little bit later, schedule a breakthrough call with me so we can learn more to help you along your journey. Okay, so as we are shifting gears into our question and answer, I just want to remind you that when it comes to understanding why you start your ministry, it is going to sustain you in the long run. Knowing your why helps you define success. Knowing your why will guide you in your decisions. Knowing your why will help people to connect with you, and being vocal about your why behind your founder story. Your why will drive you when you want to quit. One other thing that I forgot to mention earlier, and this is something that's so key, because there will be resistance. And honestly, resistance sometimes comes from ourselves. There is absolutely a higher version of ourselves that is waiting to be manifested, that we have to work to rise into our crown, sisters. But in order to step into that higher version of ourselves, the potential that's already there for you to be a dynamic speaker, a sought out best-selling author, to be a ministry leader that transforms lives, for you to be that disciplined woman, that powerhouse that's within you, that higher version of yourself. Between you and that, you have to go through and break through this other version, like we'll call it the lower version of you that says, tomorrow. Tomorrow I will start this project. Tomorrow I will write this book. Maybe next year. Do you realize that a lot of us right now, it is November. We still have time in this year. But a lot of us are like, yeah, I'll start that project next year. Okay. How many of us are just saying, after January 1, we want to make it our New Year's resolution? And how many of us know half the time when we wait into the new year to start something, we never get it off the ground? I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but this is fourth quarter of the year. In in sports, fourth quarter is the time in which it's separation season between those who are like, yeah, I'm just going to autopilot. just gonna be on autopilot until the end of the year, and I'll pick back up in New Year. Or those who are like, no, I'm gonna finish strong. I'm going to commit to doing that thing that I said I was going to do at the beginning of the year. I still have time left because, sister, that lower version of ourselves always defaults to comfort, always defaults to, oh, yeah, what's the easier way? I don't feel like it. I don't feel like working out. I don't feel like, spending time in my word. I don't feel like working on this book that God gave me 3 years ago. I don't feel like, see, what we're doing is we're letting our feelings drive our actions. Instead, I encourage you to acknowledge the feelings. Yes, we're human, and I'm not saying don't care for yourself because we do need rest. But if you just submit to your feelings every time without doing what you know you must do to get to that higher version of yourself, sister, you will never get there. You will never get to where God is calling you to do if you continue to do the old habits that have kept you stuck. At some point, we must do something different. We must learn to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. We must learn to stretch ourselves, to do things that might be like, oh, this is a little bit hard. This is a little bit hard. But like anytime you are growing muscle in any area, whether it's like physical muscle, like you are lifting weights in the gym, there's a tearing, there's a stretching, there is like this about it. There's some pain in doing what we need to do to get that strength. But the question is, do you want, and I can't remember who is the originator of this quote, but it was once said, we get to choose our pain. You get to choose the pain of discipline now or the pain of regret later. Okay, the pain of discipline now or the pain of regret later. Scripture reminds us that no discipline feels pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who are trained by it. Now, ladies, I don't know. I don't know who is really feeling what I'm saying right now, but for some of us, I I I really feel like in this season, God is calling you to step it up. And I want you to put it in the chat. I'm stepping it up. God is calling you to be more intentional with the time that we have because we don't know how much time we have. For us to be so, for the lack of a better phrase, conceited, confident to believe that tomorrow is promised. When scripture tells us that no, it's not. We don't know what we have for tomorrow. All we know is we have today. We have right now, and every second counts. We all get the same 24 hours, but how you steward those 24 hours, are you investing those 24 hours in things that count, that things that matter, that things that bear fruit, or are you wasting it away? Wasting it away on things that are not educating your mind, wasting it away with people who honestly are draining you. Get this, there are two types of people in our lives. There are drains and there are fountains. The fountains, those are the people in our lives, they pour out, they pour into you. When you leave spending time with them, you feel refreshed, you feel full. They draw you up, they call you up, they call you out and up into your greatness. Then there are the drains. The drains, sister, we need to be careful of the drains in our lives because those drains, they zap, they zap. And we have to protect our energy. We have to protect who we spend our time with, how we spend our time, so that we can be at a place where God can absolutely use what we are putting out here and touch it. But in order for God to touch what we have been dreaming and praying about, we need to give him something. You can't just stay still in your house dreaming about one day becoming that author, one day starting this ministry, one day speaking on stages, one day coaching women or starting a healing ministry. You have to put actions behind the dream. It has to be, we're co-laborers with God. So yes, he touches it. He makes things grow. But if we're not doing our part, then he has nothing to touch. Tell me who I'm talking to right now. Because for some of us, we have been sitting, we've been procrastinating, we've been waiting far too long to answer what God has put on our hearts. And I'm calling you out because I'm calling you up into your greatness because I know how serious this work is. So, sisters, know everything I'm saying to you right now is coming from a place of love. And I know there is more that you're capable of, but we got to step it up. All right. So I am going to take a couple questions from my sisters. And here's the beautiful thing. Again, share this if you if you like really felt what I was saying right now. Share this with a couple girlfriends who need to hear this. And again, this is our weekly book club meeting, so we're going to be teaching from my book Sister Start Your Ministry. Today I was teaching from chapter 1 on understanding your why. Next week I'm going to be teaching from chapter 2, dealing with fear, imposter syndrome, doubt, anything that's really been holding us back. And so you definitely want to make sure that you visit sisterstartyourministry.com so that you can read along, because in addition to what I cover, there's also challenges and kind of homework, if you will, that you can do at the end of each chapter to kind of help you with the implementation of what I cover each week. Also, each week you have the opportunity to ask some questions. And so you can submit your questions at revjocelyn.com/questions. And remember, if this is your first time watching, slam that subscribe button. Make sure that you follow me. You can also follow me on all the other pages. I'm on, obviously, I'm on YouTube. Many of you are watching on YouTube, but I'm at Rev Jocelyn on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you. All right, so let's get into some questions. And I will take the pre-submitted questions, but if you have additional question and I have time, you can go ahead and put that in the comments and I will try to bring you on stage, if you will, and answer those questions live. So, the first question is, how can I build momentum when I work full time and only have a few hours a week for my ministry? Ooh, 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 this is a good question. Do any of you struggle with this right now? I know I did, because when I got the call to start my ministry, I was still working full time. And so I had to figure out how to juggle like building something new with already having a full time commitment. Now, for some of you, you not only have a full time commitment, but your wife, your mother, you also work at your church, you volunteer. So, one of the things that I alluded to earlier is that in order for us to say yes to the God things in this season, you're going to have to say no to some things, like even things that are good. All right. So we don't want to confuse good things for God things. A good thing could be like, yes, like volunteering at the center, or being a part of the choir. That's amazing. That's good things. But you want to be prayerful about what is in season for you right now. Because, yes, like you enjoy those things. You might have served in that capacity for many years, but maybe God is releasing you in this time because you need more room and even emotion, like energy, to be able to focus on building on what you are called to do in this season. Seasons change, sister, and sometimes we are stuck because we're not letting go of the things that God has already released us from. Right. And so that's number one. I want you to really think about doing a audit, if you will, of your time, to look at like, okay, are there certain things that I can let go of? The other thing is I had to learn to become very scheduled. By that, I mean, I had to block my time and time block. So when it came to, I knew I couldn't just be lazy on a Saturday morning. If I had Saturdays off, I had to maximize that time for my social media content, for my writing of my blogs, for writing of my newsletters. I had to plan out in advance what I was going to work on in this season and block the time. There is a power in batching information, or batching tasks, that is. So, for example, I am a podcast host. So, I like to batch doing several episodes in a finite period of time, back to back to back, because I'm in that mode and I can get all my podcast recorded in one day for the full month. So for you, if you are looking to write, if you're looking to create, you might batch for a couple hours and get all the stuff done for that whole week or all the things done for that whole month in a specific period of time. So that is definitely a pro tip that I want you to consider to help you to kind of time manage, if you will. And management is the wrong word. It's really finding a rhythm, a way in which you can get through some of those main priorities. Is really prioritizing, because you can't have too many things that you're focusing on at once, because then you'll do everything subpar versus operating in excellence. And so for you, I'm going to ask for you to be prayerful on how to identify what are those priorities in this season for your life. All right, so that was question number 1. Question number 2, what if I feel unqualified to lead? Like other women are more experienced or gifted than me. Ooh, I would love to hear. Does anybody else really struggle with this? Like struggling with feeling like I'm not qualified enough, or will people really listen to me? I don't maybe have enough experience, or I don't have enough education. This is something that I really struggle with. And here's the interesting thing. I was struggling with imposter syndrome when I first got started. This idea that I was fake, I wasn't good enough, I was like a pretender, like all these thoughts was in my mind. It was actually preventing me from really moving forward with writing my first book back in 2019. And I had to really connect with people who reminded me who I was. That, first of all, I did have experience. I had my own personal experience, just like you have your personal experience. What you've gone through is unique. Nobody has gone through what you have gone through, or walked in your shoes. I also have studied, I also have gone to school, but even with the credentials or whatever, it was something in my mind that was telling me that I was not good enough. But here's the thing, and I want you to hold on to this. God does not call those who are qualified, He qualifies those who He has called. And so when He calls you, He knows where you are in your journey. He knows the down and dirty. He knows the mistakes. He knows the insecurities. He knows your shortcomings. And yet He calls you chosen. Yet He says, I want you to write this book. I want you to start this ministry. I want you to be the person who builds this program that's going to change lives. Not her over there, you. And for some of us, we struggle with really feeling like, God, what about this that I did? What about that? He knows that. And that, honestly, what we're ashamed of sometimes makes us all the more qualified to do what we're called to do. I shared last week how I was in previously in an abusive marriage, and for a long time I carried shame around that. But I recognized, after I really began to work through my healing, is that what I went through actually made me stronger in my ministry. It made me more compassionate. It helped me to be able to hold space for other survivors. It helped me to see things differently that I couldn't have learned in a textbook. I could have only learned by going through it. So what you might be ashamed of, what you might think has disqualified you, actually qualified you to be better equipped to do what God is leading you to do in your ministry. So again, I don't know who this is for, but I want you to recognize that your value is not predetermined by like all these degrees, or what other people say about you. Your value is determined by the fact that you are, in fact, a child of God. You are anointed, you are called, and God wants you. He chose you. He handpicked you to answer this call, but you still, even though He's calling you, you still have to say yes to the call, because God is a God who never forces us. He extends the invitation. He says, "Daughter, I want you. I invite you to do this work, to co-labor with me." But we still sometimes can let our fear, our doubt, our insecurity get in the way of what God is trying to do through us. Oh, warrior beauty, thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate you sharing. Yes, I can feel comfortable with writing, but showing up on camera makes me feel like my personality isn't good enough and people wouldn't want to listen. Thank you for your honesty because you just shared that for how many people out there? Let me tell you something, Warrior Beauty, and every sister who's listening right now, that your unique personality, how God made you, whether it's your quirks, whether it's like how you might have a little stutter over here, whatever it is, you are going to be able to minister to people, certain people who I'll never be able to reach. And what makes you unique is what's going to draw the people who are your assignment to you because you are able to relate. You have certain experiences, you have certain stories. You know, the devil will try his best to distract us with stuff that does not even matter. He will try to distract us saying, "Oh, your hair, oh, you got this pimple over here. Oh, you got to have everything just right. You have to have this amazing studio or whatever to do what God's calling you to do." No, you don't. No, you don't. And you don't have to have the perfect script or any of that to be able to connect with people, to minister to people, for God to use to be anointed. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be willing to let God use you as an imperfect vessel to share a message that will resonate with people. So, Warrior Beauty and every other sister out here, I want to encourage you to stop playing small, to get out here and answer the call, to let people hear your voice because your voice matters and you have something to share that the world needs. Okay, so we got one final question I'm going to bring forward today. And again, if you have a question, remember to submit it at reverendjocelyn.com/questions. And remember to subscribe if you're just tuning in. The last question I'm going to cover for today is which platform should I use to grow my audience? Right? For some of you, you might be really thinking about that. Like, all right, I want to post on social media, but some people say Facebook, some people say Instagram, YouTube, podcast. Like, there's so many options out here. Well, it depends on a couple things. I'm going to give you two things to consider as you are trying to determine which platform is best for you. First, I really want you to look at what are your gifts because for some of you, you are an amazing writer. You love writing. Okay. So maybe the medium that you want to focus in on first is a blog. So I do remember Warrior, you said you like you might not you might feel comfortable with writing, but showing up on camera. Okay. So for you, maybe writing is your thing for right now. So you can have a really strong blog that you're doing. My ministry started off as a blog. Literally, I wrote blogs each and every week. I called it Faith Fridays. And I wrote a blog about how God helped people to break through trauma, break through difficult times, and God showed himself faithful. And that was my ministry. It was a blog. And then it developed into a book and then a podcast. But it started off there. So if you get joy in writing, maybe that could be the first medium that you choose. But for some of you, you're like, I don't like writing, but I love to talk. Okay. And you have a wonderful voice. Maybe the medium that you choose is podcast. Maybe you get a podcast mic and you could talk and you have the energy and you like interviewing people. That could be something where you can use that as a medium to share your message. It's a vehicle, right? We get to choose which vehicle makes the most sense that we want to take. So audio, podcast. Or for some of you, you love being on camera. You have no issue being on camera. If that's you, then maybe you start your YouTube channel or you choose to be on some other platform that allows for you to do video content. So I want you to first think about what is the platform that you think is in alignment with your gifts, your talents, and your focus. Now, in addition to that, I want to also encourage you to think about where the people that you desire to serve are located. Are those people congregating on YouTube? Are the people who you want to reach on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn? Where are the people that you desire to serve hanging out? And based on that, that can help you to determine which platform is best suited for you to put content on so you can reach the people that you desire to serve the most. Okay, so those are things to consider as you're navigating which platform might be best suited for you in this season. But regardless, bottom line, sister, is that you want to be visible on social media to start getting your message out there. Just picking the one where your people are is best suited for you to help you to grow your following. All right. So we are almost at the hour. Again, as a recap, please visit sisterstartyourministry.com. I'm here week after week, every Sunday at 6:30 live to do a teaching out of this book. And so next week, we're going to be dealing with fear, doubt, imposter syndrome. And so I would love for you to follow along with me as I'm teaching from the book. Today, I taught from chapter 1. Next week, I'll be teaching from chapter 2. And if you have the book, you get to do the challenges, the homework, and there's also additional bonus tools like a workbook, a planner, journal to help you in answering the call to ministry. And for those of you who want to do deeper work and actually would like to connect with me so that we can like look at possibly developing a plan to help you to really get launched, then I'm going to invite you to apply for a breakthrough call. You can go to revjocelyn.com/breakthrough-session. And through that, we can spend some time together. I can learn about your goals, where you might be having challenges, and how we can help you to get to that next level in ministry. So if today has blessed you, please let me know that you have gotten something from our time together. Your words, what you say in the chat is what fuels me, which keeps me going. I'm so grateful for those of you who have joined me live. And I look forward to spending some more time with you in the upcoming weeks to help you to not only start your ministry, but grow your ministry and build a ministry that's sustainable and changes lives. Thank you for spending this hour here with me, sister. Be sure again to subscribe and share this episode with a friend. And I will see you next week for our next live session. God bless you, and I'll see you soon, sisters. You take care.